Hi everyone, welcome to Good for the Game TV, the show that helps you turn your sporting knowledge into profits. You're tuned to the Handicap, our flagship rugby betting show, every Thursday night at 9 o'clock. We have a look at the weekend's rugby, and of course, we look at it from a betting angle because that's what we're all about. You can talk about all other things to do with rugby. Yeah, they're interesting, but at the end of the day, we want to know how are we going to make our money. And well, I can tell you we've got assembled a strong panel here to have a look through all the weekend's handicaps for you. And I'll introduce them all, and let's start down in Cape Town with Henrik Swart. He's known for his punting on the points lines, but he's also pretty shrewd. He gets on the early handicaps. I know he was hanging around on GG Gaming on Monday when they came out with their Currie Cup caps. Henrik, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brent. Nice to be on the show. Yes, I've got a few early bets that I've got down on early handicaps, and luckily they've all shifted in my favour, so I'm happy to be down with my bet early.
Excellent. I mean, I guess, Henrik, I don't have to tell you, though, that having it shift in your favour is half the job, eh? After that, what was it, the Sharks v Free State a couple of weeks ago, I mean, where you were on the, and I mean, rightly so, you were all over the 15.5. I mean, bookmaker got it horribly wrong. And then somehow either the Sharks only win by what, 4 points?
Yeah, that was one of my bigger losses on well, probably my biggest loss on a game in the 13 years of punting. So that's not a nice memory. Yeah, I know it doesn't help getting the value if the team doesn't deliver, but yeah, hopefully this time it goes for me.
Right, and then from George, we've got Hein Dumont. He's couch critic on the Good for the Game forum. Couch, how are you doing?
How's it, Brent? No, I'm all good. And yeah, Hendrik is the guy to follow early in the week because he's the one always telling you, listen, there's some value there. So I think the most depressing thing is reading one of his posts like 2 hours too late, because then you realize it's gone by that time.
Well, it certainly is a problem. I mean, not a problem, but it's certainly a valid point. I mean, Henrik, as it happened, it saved me money. But that time a couple of weeks ago, you actually sent me a WhatsApp and said, hey, by the way, there's minus 15.5. And I was stuck in meetings, and I was absolutely cursing that I couldn't get on. And as it happened, it saved me money. But, I mean, that's the thing. If you don't move quickly on these early handicaps, you lose it. And a guy who, I must say, probably sticks to his guns more than most in that he settles on a handicap early, and he doesn't let things like team news and that throw him off too much. He's friends with all the refs, not like the rest of us who curse them all the time. It's Oracle Rugby down in Durban. How are you, Gavin?
I'm very well, thanks, Brent. How are you doing?
No, very good, thanks, man. Good to see we got the boys coming in on the comments line now. Gav, big weekend. Have you got all the videos up on your site yet?
Yes, Brent. I've done all of them. I didn't do a Pro 14 one. I'm just going to do a post a little bit later. I've got a bit of a cold, so I don't sound very good. So I don't want to scare too many people away with a Pro 14 video. So yeah, I do stick to my guns, Brent. I'm also not much of I know Henrik's got a lot of value out of punting on Monday and Tuesday. I must say, in the past, I haven't. I've often got it wrong, and you know, I'm more of a sort of a Wednesday and a Thursday punter, and I've been like that for a while, and I'm happy with it. Often the handicap moves, thanks to guys like Hendrik, send the handicap up my direction often, and I do sort of profit from that. So I'm not unhappy with it. And with regards to the players, yeah, team news doesn't bother me much, because honestly, if you lined up all the Springboks in front of me now, the 23 that played last week or even the week before, I don't even think I can name more than 6 of them. So I'm happy with that as well.
Right. Well, let's get into the Rugby Championship, because that's first on the agenda. And we've got the big game in Wellington on Saturday morning. It is, of course, the All Blacks against the Springboks. The handicap here been pretty stable all week, around about 22.5, 23.5 points. And Gavin, let's stay with you on that one. Which way have you gone on this?
Brent, you know, the last 2 times that the Springboks have gone down to New Zealand, they've lost 57-0, and I think the other result was 35-14 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But, you know, I felt that South Africa did quite well last week, bar that horrendous decision to throw the ball over the line out. That I know that on my talk show on Tuesday, the guys seemed to think it was a good play. I'm not in agreement with that. I think it was a stupid move. We're leading by 8, chucking the ball. Clearly, the call wasn't heard, or the call wasn't. The guy was supposed to get the ball, didn't know about it. You know, a whole lot of things went wrong. But for me, the biggest problem was the decision to make that call, leading by 8 in the first half. You know, you want to do something like that, you've got to be behind. It's a gamble. You take it when you're in big trouble, or when you're leading by 30. You don't take it when you're leading by 8. And I think South Africa did very well. In fact, I did tweet that I was surprised that, well, I would be surprised if Australia didn't lose by 10. I clearly got that wrong. Australia effectively won the rest of the game 16 points to 3, came back. You know, I thought South Africa played well. There were patches where they looked very good. And, you know, New Zealand are New Zealand. I don't think they're fantastic. I think they're just good New Zealand, and take nothing away from them. But I do believe that 22 points is a little bit too much, or as GG Gaming said, 23, or I think I even saw 24 earlier. I think it's just a little bit too much. I'm not bullish on this game, Brent. I'm going a unit. I managed to get even money at plus 22.5, and I'm happy with that. I'm not putting a lot of money on this game. I'm obviously going to watch it. I may have a go at halftime. I may even have another go if the handicap gets bigger. But honestly, at 22 points, I'm happy.
Well, let's find out which way the handicap's going to be moving, because what the next two guys tell me is probably going to tell us which way the line's going to go, if it's going to move at all. And let's start with you, Couch. What are you doing on this game? Or are you biding your time waiting for our pre-game show to talk about the try-scorer markets?
Now, I'll probably look for something in that one, yes. But I just think New Zealand are a different planet. There's no ways I'm backing the box on the plus. I'm staying clear of that. And the punt I'll be looking for is a second half handicap on the All Blacks. I think the box will come out fired up, come out looking to put a performance together for Rassie. But in the second half, you just can't keep up with the All Blacks. I know they weren't at their best this past weekend in the second half, but I think they thought the job was done. This week, I think they'll come out and finish us in the second. So I'm looking at a handicap. If I can get around 11, 12-ish, I'll be on that. So I'm thinking that's the way to go.
Well, I can tell you, Emil has come onto the comments, and he's actually posted, just before you said that, he posted his bet for the game. He says, All Blacks, minus 12.5 second half cap, D-Mac and Goodhue to wreak havoc when introduced off the bench. And let's face it, that is one very strong bench. So, Couch, I'm with you there. I think the All Blacks in the second half have been very strong. I saw one of the punters on the Good for the Game forum also mentioning that in All Blacks games, you back the highest scoring half to be the second half because they tend to cut loose. And he mentioned the stats. I can't remember. I think he's won something like 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 8 of the last All Black games. And Henrik, let's bring you in there. Are you looking at the half-time cap? Are you looking at the full-time cap? And is your money already down, or you're still pondering this one?
Brent, I'm not very strong in either of the two Rugby Championship games this weekend. I think the handicaps are well set. But I think Hein might have seen my betting statements again. He's taken my bet again. So yeah, I also like the second half handicap in New Zealand. I see Sunbet has it at 12.5, and I've taken a bit of the 12.5. Like I said, not a big bet. I'm not very strong in it. And then another bet I like is New Zealand to win by 21-30 at 5-2. I think hopefully South Africa can keep it close in the first half. New Zealand, they haven't covered a lot of first half handicaps this year so far. And I think their bench looks stronger than ours, and I think they can pull away in the second half.
Yeah, it's quite a nice bet. If I look at it, I think all 3 games so far, New Zealand games in this Rugby Championship, have actually finished between 21 and 30, if I'm not mistaken. It's all been in that region, and it's generally come from a late rush of tries with New Zealand. So, a little bit of a mixed bag here. Clearly, the bookmakers have set this handicap fairly well. We've got Oracle very much in the camp of the Springboks, and then the other guys are perhaps not well, even Oracle himself, not that committed on this one. So perhaps not the biggest game to get involved with. We will do a pre-match show, which will also cover the game afterwards as well. We'll do that on Saturday morning. So that's, of course, where we can sink our teeth into the points lines and start looking at what the weather's going to be like in Wellington. And maybe for Sean's sake, we'll have a look at the Kings game as well, because he's intent on going for that one. But, possibly I've got a feeling that the Australia-Argentina game is going to have a little bit more betting interest from the team. And I'm going to start this time with Couch. Couch, the handicap here, 10.5 points. I thought I saw a shift early in the week down to perhaps 9.5, but generally seems fairly stable, this one. I think a lot of support for Argentina early based on their performance against New Zealand. But with news breaking that Falau and Pocock should be back, maybe the support coming now for the Aussies?
Spot on, Brent. I think coming out and off the back of the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, everyone, I think you could have thought Argentina plus 10.5 it's too good to be true. But the longer the week goes, the more you think, maybe they were just seriously up for that Kiwi clash. Maybe they're not going to be, if you think about it rationally, you'd think Argentina plus 10 should be a winner. the Aussies were useless. But then again, you know, do the Argentines still have another performance? I think Gary hit it on the head there. You're just a little bit concerned that they can follow up a performance. I mean, if they can play at 90% of the level they played against New Zealand, then I think that they'll cover the 10.5. But you have to be a little bit concerned. So I'm not going to jump in boots and all, but I still think, you know, you have to go for Argentina plus 10.5 at this stage.
Right, well, Henrik, let me come to you. We'll leave Oracle for last on this one. Has Hans stolen your bet there with a 10.5, or are you looking at this one differently?
Yeah, early in the week I was leaning towards Argentina, Brent, but I've changed my view on this one a bit. And yeah, like I said, I'm not strong on it, but I'm leaning to Australia on this one. And I think Pocock and Folau back, and Australia have a good record against Argentina from memory. So I think Australia can beat the handicap, and I'm going for another bit of a value here. Australia by 11 to 20 at 5 to 2 in this game.
Right. So if you that could be quite a nice double. You take the New Zealand 21 to 30, Australia 11 to 20 if you're looking for a speculative play there. Let's bring the Oracle in now, because I haven't had a chance to watch his videos yet, so I've got absolutely no idea where he's going. But I've got a feeling though, Gavin, that you're on Argentina here.
Brent, I'm very concerned that you haven't been watching my videos for a few weeks now. All right,
don't worry, I watched it just this week.
All right, so yeah, I'm you know, I hear what Hans says, I hear what Henrik says, I even hear what Gary says, but you know what? The difference here, I think, is that Mario Ledesma's there, and you know, a lot of guys are thinking that they can't string a couple of wins together, or a couple of weeks together. Well, the Jaguares, and we know that the squads are very similar when it comes down to, on paper, they're very similar. They went over there, they won 2 games in Australia, they won 2 games in New Zealand, and then they went back home and won 2 or 3 games in a row. So, you know, I don't think there's any issue there. I think Mario Ledesma is definitely the difference. Last year and the year before, this handicap was beaten. Australia beat it comfortably. In fact, I think it was 16 and 20 something. But this year will be different. They're also playing in a small stadium. They're not playing in a Perth or Melbourne or whatever. They're playing at the Gold Coast. It's a tiny little venue. I think it's a soccer stadium. I think they had the Commonwealth Games Sevens was at the stadium. It's a very small stadium, and you know, Argentina are definitely up for it. They beat the plus against South Africa. They won the game against South Africa. They beat the plus against New Zealand. They're 3 pluses out of 3. 3 handicaps out of 3, should I say. The other teams haven't done that. New Zealand are only 2 out of 3, Australia 1 out of 3, and South Africa 1 out of 3. So, sorry, 2 out of 3 for South Africa. Yeah, I like Argentina. In fact, I'm ignoring the plus 10.5, and I do see that there was plus 8.5 in 1 or 2 places. So money's obviously moved there. I'm going straight for the board here. I got 28 to 10, and I went 3 units. I'm you know, not quite maximum, but I've had a decent strike on the Argentinians, and I do think they will win this game.
Gavin, let me ask you there. Let me stop, because I have been following your videos and your progress on Oracle Rugby, and I know you've got a lot of following, a lot of guys who follow your tips, and a lot of guys probably enjoy your videos because you the way you do them is quite entertaining. But let me ask you the question: when you started off, you were very much a 9 to 10 handicap player, and of late you've moved more where you tend to look, instead of taking the minus 10.5, you take the minus 15.5 at 16 to 10. Or you're back on the board at 28 to 10. How's this actual? I mean, is this strategy working for you, or are you thinking of going back to the 9 to 10?
I'm going to try and, well, this week I've done a bit of a mix and match. So I've done a couple of 9 to 10s this week. Last week was a good example. I had the Lions at minus 33.5 at 14 or 15 to 10. They won by 33. I lost that. I had the... Sorry, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was, no, the Argentina one I won. The South African one I went on the board at 17 to 10. Obviously, that lost. The handicap would have arrived at plus 5.5. I know there was a guy from Australia that said it'd come down to 3, but let me tell you, well, you know as well, at game time in South Africa, plus 5.5 was definitely still available. Yeah, it's a tough one. You know, I did try a couple of 2 to 1s and 5 to 2s. I missed out by 1 or 2 points. So I think the right call here is probably something between 12 to 10 and 16 to 10 to keep it at that, because these handicaps don't often sit on the number. I mean, yes, South Africa, Australia did, but that's a rare occasion. if the bookmakers get it wrong, they get it wrong by between 3 and 7 points. I did a bit of stats on it, not too much. When it comes to Currie Cup, though, geez, you can go 3-1 both sides here and probably win a bet, because it's very seldom does it arrive anywhere close to what it's supposed to. I mean, last week's games, bar the Lions game, I think was, the handicap was 28 or 27, I think was the lowest. It arrived at 33. That's 6 points off. That Griquas game, I think the handicap was 15. If you've taken plus 6.5, you're a winner. They lost by 5. Sorry, I forget the other match. It was the not the Cheetahs. The Sharks Pumas was quite close. Actually, I think the handicap was 18 and arrived at 16. So that's also a bad example. But if you're taking 3-1 and you get 1 out of 3, at worst you've got your money back. You've not lost anything. So it's sort of worked, but it's also not really worked. I've got to get it right. It's not a science just yet.
No, fair enough. And I mean, Hendrik, let me ask you that question, because I mean, one of the things about, obviously, if you're taking 3-1 shots and 5-2 shots, Hendrik, you're not expecting to hit everyone. In fact, but obviously, if you're getting the value, you'll feel in the long term you'll make money, which obviously is what Gavin's after. But the one thing about that is, if I could say it, I call it a morale element. If you're placing lots of winning bets, your morale picks up, and I find you start seeing things a lot clearer. But if you are playing the bigger prices, you have to accept that you're actually going to place more losing bets than you're going to place winning bets. And that can sometimes affect the mindset. And for that reason, it's not that I don't play the long shots, but I tend to, when I play seriously, I tend to go and hover more around the 9 to 10 mark.
Yes, I agree, Brent. The morale thing you talk about, that's very important for me. I like having my betting confidence up. And for me, it's very much a confidence thing. Like sports people have confidence, betting is confidence thing for me. When I hit a good form, my bets just keep winning, and then you hit bad patches as well. So I like to go, seeing value, I go for the handicap value. I'd rather stick to the 9 to 10 and go for the lower handicap than go for the higher handicap and chase the big price. I like chasing, I'm looking for value, so I would go for the bigger price if I'm very confident on a play, but I like to stick to the 9 to 10s.
Right, yeah, I'm very much similar strategy to you. But what is amazing to me is how when you are betting and you're going well, life is easy. Eh? I mean, you can find the value. I mean, a good example, Hein will know, in the Vuelta a España, in the cycling, I have been on absolute fire. I've never had a tour like this. I've backed 66-1 shots. I've backed 25-1 shots. But let's take my 66-1 shot, Hein, that I backed yesterday. I mean, he just held off your 50-1 shot. And I mean, on a given day now, he gets beaten in second. I get nothing but a run for my money. But this tour, it's just all come together, and it feels like you could do nothing wrong. But I've often looked back after a good run, which is invariably, it always turns eventually and it goes bad. And you try and pinpoint it. What did I do wrong that at some point that run ends? Because when you're going well, but you suddenly look at the end of a Saturday and you've placed 5 losers in a row.
Brent, I think it's spot on. Like as Hendrik says, it's you almost get in that zone where you'll even just switch on to MotoGP or something, and you'll take a 3-1 in running, and it just comes in. I don't know. It's just like you get in that zone where everything falls, and then on the other side, or often what happens to me is when I've got 2 different accounts, and the one that's struggling and the one I want to try and build up on almost get too desperate, and then I end up losing there. And the other one that I've got quite a bit of cash flow on, I just put a random bet on and I end up winning that one. I'm like, oh, come on, man, what's up here? So it just happens like that sometimes. And I think that's what all of us are talking about, is having that discipline to just say, like, when you are in a rut, just stick to, stick to the 9 to 10s. Don't then go look for all the 3-1s and 4-1s. It's fine if you have a strategy like Oracle, but don't go, do that out of desperation.
No, fair enough. And it's funny what you say, because I've been exactly the same thing, where I've been winning with the one bookie, losing with the other. And you start thinking, if I keep winning with this bookie, he's going to start limiting me. I want to actually lose with this one and win with this one. And it never seems to work that way. But anyway, that was a nice little distraction from the rugby for a while, just to talk a little bit of betting there. Let's move on to the Currie Cup, and I'll start with you, Hendrik. Friday night's game. We've got the Bulls up against the Pumas. That's, of course, taking place at Loftus. And just popping on here for a handicap, I think it was around about the 15.5 point mark, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah, it's about 14, 15. It depends on the bookmaker. I think this handicap is very well set. I haven't placed a bet on the handicap yet, so I'm going to wait for the points lines in this game. I think the the Pumas might do all right here, and I think the Bulls have leaked a bit of tries last week against Griquas. They've leaked against the Lions, so they've leaked a lot of points. So I think I'm going to look at having a play on the overs on the Pumas if I can get high 20s for points or over 3.5 tries on the Pumas. I'll be on to that.
Right, looking for the Pumas to score points. And Gavin, looking at this game, what have you gone for?
Brent, I had a small go at. When I say a small go, it's really a small go. I just felt. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I was just saying, what's your small go? Pumas by 50.
No, I think I got the Bulls wrong last week. I don't think it was great Griquas. I think it was just rubbish Bulls. I put quite a lot of faith in Potty Human. Henrik warned me. I apologize, Henrik. I didn't listen properly. I'm hearing you now. Yeah, look, I think the Bulls, like I said, I got them right with the Cheetahs. That first game, I got them right when the Sharks beat them comfortably. The Sharks haven't proved to be that good either. I think this is rubbish Bulls at the moment. Although the Pumas haven't been great either, I think the value definitely lies with the Pumas with a plus 14.5 start. 2 try starts, good enough for me. But I'm a half a unit on this. I'm not confident at all. In fact, I think Henrik's right. Sorry, I'm expecting the Pumas to probably score around 20, 25 points. So if they're going to lose by 15, that gives the Bulls about 40. I can't see the Bulls scoring 40 points. So yeah, for the points, guys, I'd be under 60 here, and probably over 15 or 18 Pumas, whatever they get, maybe even 20. I don't know what it's going to be. But yeah, I'm very small on Pumas here, not strong at all.
Just a caution.
Oh, sorry, Henrik.
Just a caution on the points. Rasta Rasabengi is the ref here, and these games are normally very high scoring. So I'd be just not go ballistic on the unders there.
Yeah, unfortunately, Henrik, you might be right about Rasta, but I don't know if the Bulls are able to do it. I think if that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, let's move on then to Couch and just get his pick for that game. Couch, anything?
Yeah, I think the important thing is the Pumas have made quite a few changes, and Skobinski, the captain, is out as well. So new centers there. I wouldn't be backing either of these teams with much confidence. I think Stonehouse is getting a little bit frustrated with the guys at the moment, so he's gone for a few changes. But I do agree with Henrik. I think they might be better, closer to home. I don't think Pretoria will be too foreign for them, so they should put up a fight. But yeah, I'll definitely not go unders on points in this one. I mean, I can see the Bulls actually getting 40 points. There's going to be quite a lot of tries. Obviously, an afternoon match would have been bigger, I think. But I think both teams are going to contribute to some serious scoring here.
Well, it's a game that I'll also be looking at the points lines on Friday night. Got to get involved, but also not really strong on the handicap. Let's move on, though, to the first of Saturday's games. That is an afternoon fixture. It's taking place at Ellis Park. When my son actually got to play a game last week, he was involved in a sevens tournament. And I must tell you, the surface at Ellis Park is just out of this world. We'd had quite a bit of rain in Joburg the day before, and it was just absolutely incredible. And I was actually asking my son what the surface felt like to sort of fall on in that, and because it really looks soft, but he said underneath it's so firm. And that explains the great running rugby and that we get it at Ellis Park. And I think we will see another entertaining game tomorrow. And Gavin, let's start with you on this one. Western Province 8-10. There's been a bit of money. I know some of that money is Hendrik's money that's forced it in. I think from the Lions are 8-10, not Western Province. What are you on here?
This is one of those games where I've gone a bit bigger. I've gone for minus 5.5. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to have my bet yet because no local bookmaker has got that option. So I'm waiting for minus 5.5 to come out. I'm expecting about 14-10, and I'm going to have a 3-unit go at that. So it's a reasonably high punt. I may even have a little bit more. I'm of the opinion that Western Province are untested, playing the Cheetahs in the swimming pool in Newlands and playing the Pumas away. I think they played a bad Pumas team that night. And Cheetahs, obviously, we know their B team is rubbish. So I don't think Western Province have been tested. They haven't played the Sharks. They haven't played the Bulls. They haven't played the Lions. Yeah, I don't know. These guys are calling Western Province or the team to beat in the Currie Cup. I can't buy that yet. Yeah, if they beat the Lions on Saturday, I'll lose and I'll have a bit of respect for them. But right now, I can't be buying any of that. I'm all over the Lions. I think the 9-10, if you don't want to go for a bigger price, the 9-10 about the game or 8-10, as you said, is definitely value, and I'd be going for that.
Right, well, Ruan Farid saying Lions always do well against Western Province at home, but this time he's not so sure. So, Couch, what do you make of this one? Because it was 9-4, I saw in the Good for the Game forum, guys were saying 9-4 Western Province to win the Currie Cup, and that seemed to attract a bit of interest. And I think Gavin's right in the sense that if they win this game, that 9-4 is going to look a great price. But if the Lions end up giving them a hammering, then you're going to be wondering why you got on the 9-4.
Yes, I think that's a big thing that was highlighted. So if you are confident, then that price is going to strengthen definitely. I think there is some truth to what Gavin's saying there, that Province hasn't been tested. And remember, their best performance did come with a few Springboks available, and they don't have them. Noche and Damien was there, and Wilco Low. So they're definitely going in with a little bit of a weakened team. But I'm just looking forward to this in terms of a rugby clash. I mean, it is two of the favourites going head-to-head. Some great battles. John Augustus at 8th man going against Diamani. Jacobi Adriaanse is in a tight head for the Lions, which makes a big difference. And then Ruanel against Lionel Mapu. That's going to be great in the centre. So I'm really looking forward to it out of a match perspective. I know probably the rest of you, they just worried about the betting, but I'm looking forward to that. And I think it's pretty much too close to call at this stage. I wouldn't be going either way. I'm uncertain, so usually when I'm on that, I think actually Chris went for a nice one with 7 points either way, and I think that could be a great bet. You know, I think it's going to be tight. I don't see one of the teams running away with it. I'm leaning Lions 1-12, but the 7 each way could be a great option as well.
Yeah, I think that bet's available at Sunbet, and it is quite a nice option that I think I like as well when the game's pretty close. It's also the sort of price where you don't get too involved and you've got a nice interest in the game. But like the 1-12 margin, you're never really far away from losing that bet either. You know, the scores go against you at the end. Henrik, what did you do on this one? I think I might have been mixing up my provinces and my Lions earlier.
Yeah, no, I'm the same as I and Brent. I'm not very strong on this one. I think the bookmakers have it right as a choice game. I was hoping for a plus on Western Province. I know there's 2.5 points plus on Western Province available, but that's not big enough for me to have a solid bet. At this stage, I haven't had a bet on the game. I'm picking Province to win the game, but I'm not very confident. It's not a confident pick. But yeah, maybe I will go for Province to win the first half, just because they might run out of puff in the last 20 with the altitude. So that might be my bet, Province to win the first half, but I'm not very strong in this game.
But Henrik,
sorry, Brent. I just need to point out there, Henrik did actually have a bet. He had 1-10 that I would go big on the Lions, and someone needs to pay him because he's right.
He's right. The problem is everybody took the 1-10. There was no one prepared to lay it. But Henrik, let's stay with you because the next game, I know you had an early opinion. GG Gaming did say they were coming out at 2 o'clock. I think they actually came out a bit earlier on Monday. And the first thing you said was, it looks like they got the handicaps right, except for the Griquas game. You took the -10.5, I think it was. I see they've still got the 10, but they've shortened it to 6-10. But elsewhere, it's 14.5 points now. So you're obviously sitting in a good position. And I guess the question is now, if you hadn't got involved yet, would you still be getting in on the 14.5, or has the cap got to its right level?
Brent, I would still take the -14.5. Griquas impressed me against the Bulls, and they are very good in Kimberley. I watched Oracle's video on this one, and I know he made the point that the Cheetahs, both squads are in South Africa for this game, so they might have the best. Well, the Currie Cup side might have some guys which was over in Europe for the Pro 14, but the Pro 14 side had a few injuries, and a few of the Currie Cup players has actually been called up. And I see Louis Fouché is not playing, and he's been Cheetah's best player at the moment. Stolperberg starting at 10. I'm not that convinced. Fouché has impressed me. So yeah, I would still advise taking the -14 at this stage.
Couch, are you on board the minus as well? I'm with, just for the record, I'm with Henrik on this one. I like the Griquas on the minus. I think they're going to win this and win it comfortably.
Yes, definitely. And as you said, there are a few injuries in the Pro 14, so it's actually a weaker team. I just looked at the team this afternoon. Neil Jordan is also out playing for the Pro 14 side, so I think they're even weaker. I would love to get, if you can still get about 13.5. I just like being under that 14 mark. I don't know, it just gives me a little bit more confidence. So if you can get Griquas -13.5, it's still a decent play. I did follow Hendrik. I think I got 8-10 on the 10.5, so I did get in there. So that's good. I'm very happy with that price. But as he said, I'll probably still be taking the minus on Griquas. in Kimberley, they're going to be strong, and they love beating Free State. I mean, it's a local derby for them. They like beating their neighbours. So I think, they're not going to be taking their foot off the pedal. They're going to look to hit them hard.
I think they did beat the Free State, which also would have been a very much a B Free State team towards the end of last season's Currie Cup, quite convincingly at Griquas. I think it was by 20 points plus. But let's give the final word to Oracle Rugby on this game.
Yeah, Brent, I agree with Henrik and Hein. I think, certainly at 10.5, it did appear to be the better play. I'm not as convinced as them. I think the handicap is probably about right. But forced to have a go here, and I'm really having a small play as well. I'm not getting involved in this game by a lot. I do believe that both squads being back, I know that they both, they've both been playing badly, but that Cheetahs team did okay against the Sharks. I know the Sharks were bad that day, and they did score 2 tries in the second half, which you probably wouldn't have expected against the Lions last week. I don't know, just 14 just seems too much for me. Like Hans said, 2 tries. If you're going to take a minus, take it lower than 14. If you're going to take a plus, take it higher than 14. But I'm not confident here. I'm not. Well,
Ruan Farid just coming in and saying minus 12.5 at Sunbet. So it's a kind of quote that makes me wish I wasn't hosting a show so I could get the bet on instead. But minus 12.5 at Sunbet, I'm pretty confident that will go. So if you do like the minus, Hein, and as I know you do, and you're not on yet, then certainly the minus 12 looks a tasty bet. Gents, that brings us to the end of the Rugby Championship and the Currie Cup. There is, of course, plenty of European rugby on the go, and I'm just going to bring up some of those markets here. I don't want to go through all of it in detail because there's quite frankly too much to chat about. But let's focus on the Pro 14 games involving the South African sides, which are back home now. You've got on Saturday, you've got the Cheetahs against the Glasgow Warriors. And here you've got the Cheetahs at 5-2. I'll just have a look at the handicap now, probably about plus 7.5 points. Okay, out to plus 9.5. And Hendrik, starting with you, I think you posted on the forum early in the week that you really liked the minus 7.5 about the Glasgow Warriors. So you're not surprised to see this line movement.
Yeah, Brent, this is my best bet of the weekend. I took Glasgow minus 6.5 at 9-10 on Monday morning. I was surprised that it's a single-digit handicap. I also took Glasgow by 14 or more at 5-2. And yeah, I remember this game last season. It was a choice game. The Cheetahs were a much stronger side. They haven't lost in Bloemfontein before this game. And yeah, Glasgow won 29-26, so they got up for me. Yeah, basically, I think the Glasgow team is just as strong as they were last season, and the Cheetahs team are much weaker. So yeah, I'm confident on this one. It's my best bet and the minus on Glasgow.
And Couch, this looks like a game, and you can give me your opinion on the handicap as well, but this could be one for points punters as well.
Yeah, definitely Bloemfontein. It's gonna be running wild there, and yeah, I'm a little bit worried that the Cheetahs are going to be seriously chuffed to be back home. So they might have a bit of a bee up their bonnet to start off with, but definitely Glasgow's a star-studded team. So I think they should cover the handicap. I'm not as confident as Heinrich, but I think if you're going to have a go, especially at the prices he got, it's a no-brainer. I mean, at 6.5, definitely I would be there. If you're getting to 9.5, then you might have to think twice. I'm on the fence at those current levels.
Well, I'm kind of hoping, but just before I bring Gavin in here, what I'm hoping, and it happened a little bit last season when the tournament moved from Europe to South Africa. I'm hoping the bookmakers, because let's face it, these lines are going to be coming from the European bookmakers. Sometimes they are slow to adjust on the total points line. So you've got to, even in good conditions in Europe, nothing is as good as Bloemfontein, with a hard field. And I often find, or found last season, and maybe it won't happen again, if the bookmakers were a little bit slow to adjust to the fact that we're playing in South Africa. So I'm going to be keeping a very close eye for that points line, which will hopefully be out, I'm hoping 24 hours before the game, but at worst, probably 5 or 6 hours before the game. So just keep that in mind as a punter. There could be some value there. Oracle, your call on this game?
Yeah, look, I think Heinrich's right. The Cheetahs are just so rubbish. I didn't even punt them last week. I suggested a minus. And if you watch the game, I think at 70 minutes, they were within that 24-point handicap. And the team they were playing, sorry, I forget the name now, scored 2 or even 3 tries in those last 8 minutes and won by 30-something, close to 40. They practically gave up. I think at halftime they were losing by about 6. and it was just ridiculous. So, you know, for me, I think if you're going to have a go here, you might as well go for a 3-1 about -20 Glasgow, as well as punting the Cheetahs to win at home and 3-1, and just hope it doesn't land in the middle. I don't know. You know, we really don't know what to expect from this Cheetahs team. Last year, they were difficult to beat at home, and Henrik's right. That was a choice game. In fact, I was very surprised. They were choice, and I lost on that match. I went Cheetahs last year. I'm not. Yeah, if anything, I'll probably put a small punt on Cheetahs to win the game, but no confidence whatsoever in this match.
Well, Gavin, we'll stay with you for the next game that we're going to cover, because that's the Kings at home to Ulster. The handicap I did see at one point early in the week was about the 14.5-point mark. We'll have a quick look. I'm just popping actually onto Sunbet's site now, and I see 12.5 points, 8-10 Ulster on Sunbet, and 10-11 the Kings plus 12.5.
Yeah, for me, Brent, this is the best bet of the week from a Pro 14 perspective, certainly. Whether or not it's better than the Argentinian team, I don't know. I like Kings. I think they certainly beat that plus last week. The plus was 18. I think they lost by 5. There were stages in that second half they could have won the game. In fact, they got behind it at one point, and they came back. They didn't give up. Yes, I know the commentators made a very good point. It's the first time I've seen it in a while. Number 9 was sent off, and the team they were playing battled without that scrum off. It did cause a few points for the Kings, but I really like them. I think the sponsor, somebody's talking to them. They seem upbeat. They smiles on their faces. They seem like happy to play. And I know Sean Bowes loving the Kings. In fact, I haven't watched a live Kings game in Kingsland. You know, I'd like to do that. But, you know, last year Ulster went over there. I think the handicap was also 14 or 15. I think they won by 17 or 18. I lost that day. But Ulster have battled. Last week they won by 1. The week before, and last week they were -6, I think. The week before they were -3.5. They won by 1. So they've lost 2 minuses on the trot. Kings have won the 1+ and lost the other. But Kings have definitely looked the better team. Well, far better than they were last year. I'll make this Kings plus even 12.5, 13, 14, whatever you can get your hands on. For me, it's definitely the bet of the week for the Pro 14. In fact, I'd like to say the Kings can possibly win the match.
So, Coach Gavin, very strong on this one as his Pro 14 bet of the week. Are you in the Kings camp?
Yes, Sean will actually be pretty chuffed with me. I gave him a hard time about, he was saying if the Kings' first choice team run out, and I said I'm not exactly sure what is their first choice team. So I think he wasn't liking that comment much. But now I'm on that. I got Kings 14.5 plus, so I'm pretty happy with that. Again, it's in the 2 tries, so I think that's a decent strike. If we get to less than 12.5, then maybe I'm not quite as confident. But 14.5 was a good one. Again, you know, Ulster are a dangerous side. If they cut loose and they pitch up, it might be a tough day for the Kings. So I think this is an important game for them. They need to really show up and show that at least on their home field they're going to be very tough to beat. So it's an important game for the Kings, and I think they'll stay in the handicap.
Just before I bring Henrik in, just to give you my opinion on what I've seen of the Kings so far, I have actually been quite impressed with them in patches, and I do like their backline. I think they have a very exciting backline, and this is a game where I'll be looking to get a quote on Kings points. To be honest, I'm not very confident in their defense, so I'm not going to be looking at the handicap because I think they may well end up conceding quite a few. But I think this Kings side have got tries in them, and particularly at home, and we'll get a nice conditions update from Sean on Twitter. Hopefully he pops onto the Good for the Game forum even and puts it on. We'll get a nice weather update before the game because that's crucial to us punters. And Henrik, is this a game you're on the handicap, or you also like me waiting for the points?
I'm also waiting for the points, Brent. I haven't had a bet on the handicap. With it being a Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock game, there should be points in this game. And like you said, hopefully the European bookmakers price up the points the way they do it for their games over there. So I would look at total points overs here. The Kings have been impressive in the previous 2 games, like you guys said. I'm just not sure about the opponents that played against the quality of those Dragons and what was it? The Italian team.
Yeah,
Zebra.
Zebra. I'm not sure about the quality of those 2 teams, but yeah, I'll be looking at overs on total points if I can get about 50, middle 50s.
Excellent. Well, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Let's just, in closing, just share your best bet for the weekend, just to confirm across all all the codes that we've talked about. And let's start with you, Couch.
I just think another one on the Pro 14 is I'm backing Cardiff. I'm sticking to Cardiff to beat the 5.5 handicap against Zebre. They're playing Zebre at home, but I think at Zebre's home, but I think Cardiff have been unlucky on a couple of games now. So I think this time around they're going to do me a favor and cover that handicap. And then Griquas minus 10.5 was pretty much my bet of the weekend, but it's gone out a bit. So I'll still take the second half handicap for New Zealand. 12.5, second half handicap. I think New Zealand will cover that with ease.
Right, Henrik, your best one? Aside from, I know you got on the early 6.5, but if you had to look now, anything else that you fancy strongly?
I'd still go Glasgow on the current minus 9.5. I think if you shop around, you might get 8, maybe even 7 at 8 to 10 or something. But Glasgow on the minus, my best bet of the weekend. And just a quick note on the Mitre 10 Cup, there's 2 or 3 fancies I like. Tomorrow morning, Tasman on the minus, I like them to bounce back after losing to Auckland. Taranaki hasn't impressed me, so Tasman on the minus. And then on Sunday, the 2 games, North Harbour and Bay of Plenty. I like Bay of Plenty to beat North Harbour. You can get 15 to 10 if you shop around. And Auckland to beat Canterbury in Christchurch, just under 2 to 1.
Henrik, I have to ask a personal question. Do you have a job?
I do, Brent.
10 rugby, geez, the guys, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I do a lot of research. I follow a lot of rugby, but yeah.
Professional punter, here we come. Okay, and then let's move on to the Oracle then for your best bet. Is it going to be the Kings or is that just a Pro 14 best bet? What are we looking at, Gavin?
Yeah, first I'd just like to say that I 100% agree with you. I want some proof that Henrik actually works. I need a picture from his desk because I don't believe that X got a job. I don't know. He watches all my videos and he's got every early minus, and he's just too sharp.
That's in the evening.
Yeah, that's right. He's moonlighting at night, except a Thursday. Yeah. Listen, I just want to say one other thing. I'm writing it in my preview as well. Is whoever's in charge of putting this game on Sunday at Kings, I got to give them a big ups to them. I don't know what you guys think, but I think we are so starved of Sunday rugby in South Africa that. We limited to a Saturday, a Friday night and a Saturday. We've literally got 24 hours to watch rugby. Sure, you've got English and French and that sort of stuff on TV. And like Henrik said, the Mitre 10 Cup on Sunday morning. But, geez, how nice is it to get a nice South African game on a Sunday? I love it. I watched that Super Rugby game last year when the Lions played the Kings. I was up. My kid was playing a school game. Just Sunday rugby's got a nice ring to it. And I'm sure the fans will come out. I know that somebody mentioned there might be 500 people there. I think I might get 5,000, and that's a result for the Kings. 5,000 is not too bad at all. Yeah, my best bets of the weekend, Argentina. Look, I'm going to call the Argentina plus as the best bet. I do think they've got a chance of winning the game. I'm punching that, but if you're a little bit worried about that, plus for me is definitely a strong one, and Kings plus at home, absolutely. And if you've got a little bit of money, take a Kings to win and an Argentina to win double. You won't be sorry if that wins.
Right, thanks, Gavin. I must say, at weekend that I'm not particularly strong on anything, but I think it was posted earlier. Was it the minus 12.5 Griquas available at Sunbet? If I'm not mixing the bets up, but that's who I'm on this week as well. I like the Griquas on the minus. Guys, plenty of rugby. We'll definitely link up for a pre-rugby championship show just to talk about betting moves in the lead up to the game, as well as things like total points markets, where I know certainly Couch and Henrik come into their own as well. And we'll have a look at what's good there. And by then, we'll also, of course, have the first try-scorer markets and anytime try-scorer markets. They'll be good to look at. But, guys, thanks very much for joining us. And thanks to the guys who watched the show live and to those who watched the show recorded. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And catch the live show. We'd love to get your comments on the show as well. You can subscribe to the videos down below this one. And if you are watching now, well, pop off, have a cup of tea, and join us at 10 o'clock. Chris and I are just going to be looking at the weekend soccer betting and seeing if we can find any value on that. But thanks very much, guys. And, yeah, good punting to everyone this weekend.